All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. Going to be breaking down the Puerto Rico Open, PGA DFS, and outright bet-wise, guys. I think we are getting some big edges betting-wise. I would say it for DFS-wise as well, but the contest selection for the Puerto Rico Open is really bad. Heck, the round one showdown for the Arnold Palmer Invitational, those contests are better than the main slate for the Puerto Rico Open, which is extremely disappointing. I don't really get it because, I mean, it's a full tournament. It's a full tournament field event. You know, this should be, in my eyes, the one that has the most priority to people. This is the more fun of the two events. We had the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which is a 70-man field event. You know, 50 of those golfers are going to make the cut. Like, that's just not as exciting to me as the Puerto Rico Open. The Puerto Rico Open, we have massive edges on. I really have never seen that bad of pricing, both outright wise, like the DraftKings Sportsbook is bad. And then just DFS wise, it's bad. Like, I don't really know what's going on there. I kind of get it. At the same time, it's strange to me. It seems like someone's being very lazy with that. And I think there's a big edge there right now. But also we'll be touching on the Arnold Palmer Invitational, all my favorite bets for that as well. I do want to start out with the Puerto Rico Open though. So we look at the Puerto Rico Open and we're going to notice that, yeah, Daniel Berger is going to be the highest priced player in the slate. And I get why some of the golfers are priced the way they are. Like Daniel Berger certainly has the biggest name value, I would say here. Hogard has been someone that's really been dominating on the DP Tour. Like, it makes sense why those golfers are kind of getting priced that way. But when we look at the 9-to-5 model, we're going to see that a lot of these golfers on the high end do seem to be coming in overpriced. And for those of you that are unaware of the 9-to-5 model, we are taking into account both safety and upside. We're trying to capture that in the 9-to-5 model. And granted, in a week like this, where some golfers don't have that many starts this season, don't have that many starts in general on the PGA Tour, or we haven't seen this season, it is definitely going to be harder to predict. But typically speaking, that is why these secondary field events, these alternative field events, are the biggest edges that we get all season. One, because people don't really care, but two, they are harder for most people to be able to project. So the slight edges you can get here and there are going to be huge. And this is a week in which I'll bring up Aaron Rai, who's coming in as the second best golfer in the field. With someone like him, and this is a good example because all the other golfers are going to be like this as well. Like, in his made cuts, they've been pretty good starts and pretty good finishes in his made cuts. We look at his missed cuts, though. That's what I like to see. Like, we're going to see one bad round in there followed up with a really good round. And then the American Express, like, that wasn't a bad round as well. And really, as long as we're targeting golfers that have really finished under par in all their tournaments, that's going to be a good thing as well. Long-term wise, it makes sense why Aaron Rai is popping up. He has been playing pretty darn well. And so I view him as the top priority on the board this week. From there, we're going to see someone like Chan Kim popping up in there as well. He's coming in as the third best pick this week, and he has been playing some great golf. We're going to see this miscut in recent form number 3. And I think it's worth kind of calling out why. One bad round in there, right? So like, it's kind of one of those weeks where you do have to grade on a curve. Grade with a curve there. So, you know, you take out that one bad round, he followed it up with a 66. Like, that is freaking awesome, right? So, and we look at this miscut as well, one bad round, and certainly that could happen again. Don't get me wrong, that could certainly happen again, but since he has joined the PGA Tour, he has been pretty sharp in the events that he has played well at, and this is the event that he's projected to play well at. And so, by all means, I think he is someone that we should be looking at, and those first two guys are going to be two guys that I think are going to make for a great outright bet. Now, I do want to call out that probably a better way of looking at this, I shouldn't say better, another way that one could look at this week is looking at the specialist data, which for most of you guys, you probably already know what that means. But for some of you that don't, the specialist data is taking in all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament. So we're looking at who the course designer is, where the location of it is, what style of course is it. We got a seaside style course. How does it typically play scoring wise? This is a normal scoring track. Past volume greens, longer track. You know, we're looking at all of that, okay? And while we're here, I do want to call it that the key stats that I'm looking at this week are going to be ball striking over their last 10 starts, which again, a lot of the golfers in the field might not even have that many going into the database. And this goes back to like 7 years on the PGA Tour. So we just don't have that. We have a lot of new names is what I should say. Stroke gain total plus, total driving plus, stroke gain approach plus. Okay, the plus stats include DP Tour starts, and then just dating back to their last 10 starts, as well as including any of the PGA Tour season data as well. It's a combination stat of looking at that. But I do think the specialist data, because that's taken into account all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament, is going to maybe be a better source for people in terms of looking at maybe why a golfer is going to be successful or not successful here. And that's actually going to correlate a little bit better with the salaries that are out there. And if you want to do it that way, you can. But at the same time, I do think the plays that we were getting model-wise are really popping up as well. So we got Chan Kim, we got Aaron Rai. Those are going to be good plays. Rayo is certainly someone that has been playing great golf as well. Regardless of like made cut or miscuts, like in this field, those are going to be made cuts most likely. Brandon Wu would be a play I would love had he not been terrible last week, but he's still decent. But Benjamin Silver, okay, he has been playing some good golf. He's also made 3 straight cuts on the PGA Tour as well. That is something that I don't think we can really ignore. And really, to me, one of the biggest things about him is going to be his pricing. Like, this is such a cheap price tag. Now, I don't think we need to care about pricing because there are some egregiously mispriced golfers, but Benjamin Silver, I mean, this is really good stuff. Again, been playing great golf. The American Express minus 11 there, like, I don't really care about that because it was good golf. You know, that tournament is so minus 11 I don't care about, and that's really the one bad flaw in this game. To me, he makes a lot of sense as the starting point. And guys, I'm betting the top 7 golfers in the 9 to 5 model to both top 40, top 20, and to win. I feel like that's the route that we can go. And so Aaron Rai, Benjamin Silver, Chan Kim, I feel pretty good about. And that's why I'm doing it this way. Like, these are more outright bets, and I'll get into that in a second here. Victor Perez, Parker Cody, those two are both popping up. Sam Stevens, yeah, he's been playing some great golf. Also made a start at this tournament 2 years ago, or last year, finishing 15th. Love that there from him. But let's get into the really good value plays. Like, if you guys want access to this, you guys can, you know, obviously sign up for the 9 to 5 membership available for $10 a month. Henrik Norlander, okay, coming in off a 13th place finish at the Mexico Open, also has made 2 starts at this track, finishing 15th. I really do not get this pricing. This seems like a mistake. Rafael Campos, who typically plays well at these type of events and has been playing pretty darn well on the PGA Tour, he stands out as well. Like, this is where it started to become more head scratchers for me. Like, I'm like, what is going on? We continue to scroll on. Bryce Garnett, and don't get me wrong, Bryce Garnett has not exactly been playing well on the PGA Tour, but when we look at like those missed cuts that he's had, under par, minus 3 in all those. Like, at the end of the day in this field, like, who cares? Like, you know, like, that's everyone in the field, right? Like, I just love the fact that he's been consistently playing decent golf. And we look at those starts that he's been making. And actually, let's just pull us up a little bit higher or a little bit longer here. Yeah, one really bad start in recent form 6, and then recent form 8, one really bad start in there as well. But for the most part, been extremely consistent there for Bryce Garnett. And so he is going to be someone that, again, given his pricing, I think makes a lot of sense, but given his course history, guys, he's made 4 straight cuts at this event, and he is like a specialist at these type of events. So I think he makes a lot of sense for top 40 bets, top 20 bets, outright bets. He is someone we should be going out of our way to target. And then we continue on. Austin Smotherman, 5 straight make cuts in a row on the PGA Tour. Made the cut at this event 2 years ago. One of the best stat fits in the field. Like, what is going on? And again, I'm going to get into these guys outright wise in just a second. And I'm not saying play these guys DFS wise. It's just much more, well, I don't want you guys to play them DFS wise. I've really teetered on whether or not to come out with this video. But sure, these made cuts have not maybe been great. And we've only seen him once thus far this season. But that was a 52 place finish at the Mexico Open. Again, not the best, but considering the pricing here, feels pretty good, especially if you bet him to like top 40. That's essentially making the cut and playing better than the field. And given what we have seen from him, I think we can kind of expect that. And this is the one that really was the head scratcher to me. And I want to start with showing you guys his betting odds. So I don't know if I recall a time where this has occurred. He started out at 70 to 1 odds. Then this morning woke up at 80 to 1 odd. Okay, he just got down to 90 to 1. He was at 100 to 1 for quite some time. And it's a head scratcher. And the only reason I could come up with why maybe DraftKings has it that way, and I'll show you guys his top 40 as well, plus 105. I mean, that is egregious. So if you bet 1 unit on that, you're going to win 2 back. You're going to profit a unit. And the only reason I could come up with why they priced him this way is because we haven't seen him thus far in 2024. But I think a decent example of that, and I'm not comparing him to Rory, but last week Rory was one chalk when he shouldn't have been, and he shouldn't have been chalk because he was egregiously overpriced compared to how he's projected to play. And part of the reason why Rory wasn't the best play is because we hadn't seen him that much thus far this season. And so I get that could be really a point of emphasis in their data right now, and it's not in mine right now. But when we saw him last, he was playing extremely well. And so I get time off. The more time off playing competitively, the more variance we see in a golfer's form. That just happens, okay? But the last few times that we saw him, he was playing extremely well, especially considering this price. Tack on the fact that he has played this tournament in the past, like, it's a head scratch. I really don't get it, okay? This should be a play that does pretty well. I like, as price on anything, I think it's going to be a good play. So now more specifically, let's get into those bets. So like I mentioned, I will be betting on these golfers that are going to be coming in top 7 in the 9 to 5 model. And so Kelly Craft, like, okay, like if you want to rank him out as the 18th best play, once again, using that specialist data, he's clearly mispriced. Okay. Aaron Rai, Chan Kim, Sam Stevens, Rafael Campos, Benjamin Silver, Henrik Norlander. And I will call it Russell Knox is popping up Smotherman's popping up. Like, we do have a lot of other golfers that are popping up as well, but I want to concentrate on these top 7. I feel very good about betting them outright. And so if we go ahead and look at the odds, we're going to see Rye 22-1. That is phenomenal. Okay. We continue on Chan Kim 30-1. Love that there from him. We continue on Benjamin Silver 35-1. Really good odds there for him as well. From there, Sam Stevens 45-1. Again, these are extremely good odds, and I get it. These tournaments are more difficult to predict, so I get why we are getting the lines that we are getting. At the same time, that's going to lead to massive value out there for us. So I'm not exactly saying you need to bet these guys outright to win, but I am saying maybe bet them to top 10, top 20, top 40. Henrik Norlander, 50-1. I love that there from him. But Campos, 70-1. And then, yeah, Kelly Craft, 90-1. This was at 100-1. I wonder if DraftKings finally saw my tweets about it. But let's continue on. Like, I don't mind the idea of just betting those golfers to top 30 or to top 40. Now, top 40 for those top end guys, the odds get much worse. And obviously, I would typically show you guys like the best bets that we are getting. I am working on a way to get these all tournament field events in there. I haven't done that yet. So apologies there. I will be showing you guys this here with the Arnold Palmer Invitational as well. But that's why I'm doing it this way. But you could shop around. But yeah, I don't really feel the need to bet like Aaron Rye, top 40, Benjamin Silver, top 40, Chan Kim, top 40. Like, that doesn't really make sense. We're not getting that much value there in those guys. But like, we could start at Norlander minus 140. That feels pretty good. He's someone that should definitely outproduce his price tag. And then we started getting Campos minus 105. Like, that is a very good number that we are getting there. I like that. Kelly Craft again, plus 105. That feels pretty good. You can continue on though. Like Russell Knox, we're getting good lines on. Bryce Garnett plus 140 to top 40 for a guy that's really dominated this track. Like, those all stick out like very good bets that we are getting. So again, I do think we have some pretty big edges that we are getting for this event. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So I do just want to show you guys this right from the 9 to 5 write-up. I went and accessed this through my Twitter page. You guys can access this through the homepage as well. It's going to be right there on the featured write-up on the 9 to 5 website. Also, you got all the old write-ups right there. I do want to call it the most recent video. Should be posted right here. I gotta see what's going on with that, but it should be there for you guys as well, just as an FYI there. But what I found extremely fascinating about this event is that when we look at like the data in terms of like golfers that should be good outright bets, and this is going to be compared to the last 2 years tournament winners. Now, if I did golfers that meet the data threshold of golfers that have won over the past 2 years, I think it's just an exciting or a decent way to look at things. I know a lot of the winning trends, Twitter stuff out there gets a lot of love. This is essentially in a different format. This is more looking at a statistical standpoint of which golfers would meet those thresholds of golfers that should win. Over the last month, we really haven't had any good outright bets. We've had an average of 1.5 per week. That really tells you, and I think that's a good example of why the outright winners have been more difficult to predict. That's why Vegas has struggled. But to me, I agree with some of those outright bets. I will say the ones I've been going out of my way to target right now have been Sam Burns, Cameron Young, Harris English, and Adam Scott. Now, Adam Scott, I'm kind of iffy about because, well, he's a good play. I feel like I'm trying to capture average side. That one probably doesn't have as much there. And I will say I could just sub in Xander Schauffele instead. And I'm thinking about it more with Xander, and I think that's going to be the correct move. So let's actually just start there. So one, Xander Schauffele does not have good course history. That is a concern. Okay, that is definitely a concern, but that's the biggest thing against him. And some of you guys are saying, well, yeah, just don't bet him. That makes sense. But like, what events does Xander typically win? They're like random ones like this one where it's a limited field event. No one's really counting on him to win. And so I actually don't mind him. And so we look at some of the odds that we are getting for Xander. I kind of like these, especially like outright wise, 16-1. That feels pretty good in a 70-man field event. And so I don't mind the idea of doing that. I don't feel like we need to do that, but at the same time, it does feel like a pretty good bet. Now from there, the one that I do feel pretty comfortable with is going to be Sam Burns. So Sam Burns withdrew from this event last year because he was playing terrible. I want to make that clear, but he was also playing terrible at this time last year as well. But obviously we don't love that, but 25-1 on FanDuel for him and a bunch of other sportsbook as well, that feels pretty good. He is one of the best outfits in the field that we are getting here. Let me get into the PGA Tour. Sam Burns, one of the best outfits in the field, 7th best in the field. But if we look dialed into the key stats for this week, guys, 2nd in bogey avoidance, 9th in total driving, 6th in ball striking, and greens 13th. He had 9th at this event 2 years ago when he was playing much better, coming in as the 9th best pick. To me, I think we're capturing some upside here. To me, I just like the odds that we're getting. It just makes a lot of sense there. And so 25-1 feels very good. And now Harris English has slightly went down in the 9 to 5 mile. This is due to Vegas probably just not liking him as much. He was a top 10 play to start the week. This does update with Vegas a little bit here. It's not a big point of emphasis, but it does change it a little bit. I love Harris English this week, guys. He's going to be one of the better staffs in the field. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. He is a good enough staff in the field, but I really like the specialist data. Top 12 there. Course history rank. Phenomenal results at this track. I'm curious. I know he's a Georgia boy. Does he reside in Florida? Still don't. Georgia boy through and through. The odds that we are getting on him are kind of crazy. 55-1 on FanDuel. And then you see William Hill, 33-1. Like, we are seeing a big discrepancy there. And I think a good example of that would be like Andrew Novak. I believe it was last week or the week before that on BetMGM. I forget what site it was. I've used this as an example. He was like 70-1 on one of the sites and then like 160-1 on another site. Obviously, this is not as crazy, but we are seeing it kind of a discrepancy there. That shouts, take advantage of it. That's something that we should jump on a little bit. And then Cameron Young. Cameron Young, again, kind of like why I like Xander Schauffele, where, you know, the knock on Xander is he doesn't win real events, I guess, if you will. Cameron Young, obviously, has been chasing that win, but he's played well at this track in the past. 12th and 13th place finishes. Going to be a decent staff in the field. Actually been pepper and green, 17th in the field. Pretty good total driving, ball striking. Just been making too many bogeys. If he can kind of reduce those a little bit, he's going to find himself right in contention like he has over the past 3 weeks. 4th, 16th, and 8th place finish for him. Like, to me, that's just something that makes a lot of sense. 25-1 odds, maybe not the best for him, but that I do like those odds a decent amount. And then for what it's worth, I do want to call it real quickly Matt Fitzpatrick. Like, I don't feel like he's someone I need to outright bet, but I will say 35-1 on FanDuel is pretty good, especially in comparison to maybe like BetMGM where he's at 28-1. He does like this track. Could be someone you roll with. Now, real quickly, let's go ahead and jump into some first round leader bet. And I typically like to look at golfers that have the early tee times for first round leads. Now, this year has been very much the exceptions to the rules where maybe not all the first round leaders have been from the early tee times. You know, most of the outright winners have been pretty much, for the most part, been tough to predict. But I still think, just historically speaking, we are gaining a slighter edge by targeting golfers that have the early tee time. And so right now, and with the tee times, I think it's worth calling out that there's really not a big edge. Like, this is very much just golfers going off at a normal tee time. There's not a split. It's just tee times like you would have at a normal. Okay. But I mean, no shock there. Sky is popping up number 1. Victor Hovland, Sam Burns is someone that I really like. Pavon, I think, is going to be a very good first round lead pick for you guys. Hopefully he can continue to stay hot. But then we're looking at Jason Day potentially, Hideki, Russell Henley. Like, I'm perfectly fine with those ones. So we jump back into the betting page. Let's just see the odds that we are getting on some of those guys. So I do just want to sort by bet type. We're going to go into first round lead here. And I also want to start by early. Okay, so I'm going to toss that in there. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the optional metrics. I'm going to scroll down to the rank. That's going to be in the 9-5 rank for a first round lead. And I just want to sort by that. And so we're going to see Scotty 14-1 odds for a first round lead. I like that. Victor Hovland 22-1. Pretty good there. Sam Burns 28-1. And this is where we start to get our value. Pavon 50-1, about 55-1 on average. Chris Kirk 45-1 on average. Jason Day 32-1 on average. So we are getting some pretty decent edges there. And then let's check out 3 balls. I think we are getting those. I haven't checked this just yet. So I do want to call it that these are going to be a little bit different this week. I'll show you guys this example with Victor Hovland as well. So Victor Hovland, he's going against Ricky Fowler this week for round 1. And so what's not being shown here is the percent for a tie. Obviously, that's going to be decently high as well. You know, it's about 21% for a tie as well. But for the most part, this is going to be the edge that we have. Like, if it ties, kind of, oh well. Victor Hovland 1.7-1 to give you guys a better round over Ricky. I'll take that any day of the week. That's a very good one there. We jump back into it. We got Cameron Young over Lucas Glover, 1.89-1. That's very good, but we can start to get into these double digits. Pavon over Austin, the last week's winner, 2.16-1. That's very good. Patrick Cantlay over Matt Fitzpatrick. I don't know if I like that one. I'd probably stay away from that one, honestly. Siwoo versus Adam Hadwin, another one where maybe not. Maybe I don't love that. But you guys can go through this list, like EVR versus Grayson Murray. Yeah, give me that 1.71 for EVR to win that. I like that. Corey Connors over Eric Cole. A little bit tighter than I would like, but like, we can see we are getting some pretty darn good bets here. I would take Chris Kirk over Lee Hodges. That's a good one as well. And oh boy, guys, I wasn't planning on doing props in this video, but we are getting prop bets as well. So let's just give you guys it all. Okay, so let's jump into that. Let me refresh the data. And so instantly, guys, we are getting some decent edges. I'm starting with Underdog right now. Fairways hit props. Okay, so it did seem like already, and these are bets that I have out there, so it's kind of crazy. So fairways hit Patrick Cantlay and Victor Hovland under 9.5 on Underdog are popping up. The average line, which PrizePicks has that, is about 8.4. And so PrizePicks definitely is more correct based off of how the course has played in the past. That's a big edge on Underdog. I'm happy to bet those two for the under there. Projected fantasy points. I do think this is interesting for Denny McCarthy. Not a terrible play this week, but we're seeing that his over fantasy score is being projected. And if you compare that to some of the other fantasy score props that we have, he's one that is standing out. Now, they have kind of adjusted their fantasy score lines a little bit more as the slate has progressed. Those were some that were actually popping up a decent amount earlier on this week. Let's actually jump into PrizePicks as well. I know a majority of people like PrizePicks a little bit more, but let's see here. Prop line difference. I'm very curious about the prop line differences that we are getting because again, we already saw one where that's crazy. Fairways hit under on Underdog. That's the right way to go. So strokes. Whoo-wee. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, Keegan actually ranks out pretty well, guys. I don't mind the under 71.5 for Keegan. At the same time, on Underdog, chances are that over's going to hit. This isn't exactly David Skins like we had on Sunday where there's an egregious 1.5 stroke difference that was there the whole day begging people to bet it. He middled that day. It's not that, but it's still pretty good. Like this is still a pretty good edge. Let's flip this around. And geez, so many big prop line differences here, guys. Wow, that is crazy. This is really crazy. It's tough to explain, especially because PrizePicks was so late getting theirs out. So Wyndham Clark over greens regulation 11.5. Keegan over fairways hit 7.5. Jordan over fairways hit 7.5. Now, I'm not saying we need to run those out, but we are seeing some big prop line differences. And let's actually see one where the data really likes it. So Patrick Cantlay over 8.5 fairways hit. Feel pretty good about that one. Cameron Young over 11.5 fairways hit or greens hit, 53% for that one to hit. So let's give you guys a PrizePicks bet of the day. And actually, I messed up this line here with Cantlay. I missed that. The under fairways hit is going to be a much better bet on Underdog. Okay, so really for PrizePicks, we have Cameron Young and then Wyndham Clark. Let's just maybe roll with those two. But I will say, I do like Keegan to get to 8 fairways hit. That feels pretty low for him. Let's just sort by edge again, just real quick. Roy, birdie or better, we could do lower than O'Bear. Is O'Bear going to get 5 birdies? You know, the event average is about 3.7. I could see betting the under there. We can see Underdog has it at 4. I would say that's closer being correct in my eyes. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that with Cameron Young. So here would be the PrizePicks bet of the day. You know, 2 simple bets right now as it sits. But as you guys saw, we actually gained a pretty big edge on Underdog. So let's go ahead and show you guys that. But first, just want to remind you guys, if you do use Underdog and you never signed up before, use the promo code 9to5. That's going to kick back some money my way. That's a good way to help out the channel, help me out, grow. I can basically reinvest that money into the channel, into the data to keep making it better. That's actually a way that I'm able to keep the price as low as I am for the membership because of little stuff like that. Now, Underdog is taking suspiciously too long to load while I try to give you guys these bets, but it's going to be these two. These two are going to be my bet of the day for Underdog. I just love the prop line difference that we were getting there for one. And chances are that these 2 lines that we're getting on Underdog now in comparison with PrizePicks lines, they already seem a little bit too high, but now it's kind of confirmed that they are too high. So Patrick Cantlay under fairways hit, Victor Hovland under fairways hit of 9.5. Let's miss those 5 fairways, boys. All right, that was a jam-packed video. If you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They are available for just $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button. Also hit that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of this great content. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.